This is Anom, a phone for criminals, by criminals. In 2018, Anom became the go-to tool for organized drug deals, hits, and black market operations worldwide. Marketed as a safe haven for criminals that would allow them to conduct their business in the shadows. But there was just one problem. It was secretly created by the FBI. The world of organized crime has always evolved to keep one step ahead of law enforcement. But as technology advanced, so did law enforcement's ability to listen in, leading to a rise in the demand of encrypted devices that promised privacy. Phantom Secure, founded by Vincent Ramos in 2008, offered a product that was both technologically advanced and specifically designed to take over the private communication market. The demand for a way to communicate without the fear of interception was high among criminals, and Ramos filled the gap by providing modded BlackBerry mobile phones that were stripped of components like the cameras, microphones, and GPS. This ensured there was no possibility of authorities listening in to conversations, or a potential location leak via images of their surroundings or geolocation. Since there were no devices for secure communication, drug busts, captures of crime lords, and arrests of street criminals dramatically increased. Prepaid phones needed to be constantly replaced, payphones were inconvenient, and meetings among criminals meant there was always the massive risk of things going south. Ramos knew all of this. He understood what features were the most important. All he had to do was create the perfect device, market it, and let the sales come in. The main feature of Phantom Secure's devices was the installation of pretty good privacy encryption software, which ensured that all communications were impossible to tamper with. Along with that, the modded phones were equipped with a remote reset feature, allowing users to wipe off the data anytime, anywhere, making it all the more appealing to the targeted consumer group. Quickly, the word began to spread. Phantom Secure became talk of the town, and the company's reputation made headlines when ABC News Australia ran a story which highlighted the use of Phantom Secure devices by organized crime members. This media coverage, which was meant to alert the public of the dangers posed by these devices, unintentionally served as free advertising for Phantom Secure. As a result, the demand for the phones increased globally. From international drug traffickers to hitmen, everyone got their hands on Phantom Secure phones. They enabled them to operate discreetly and without fear of interception, and this is exactly what they had been looking for. Years passed and criminals continued to conduct their business outside of the law. The FBI knew that they had to shift their focus away from criminals and take down Phantom Secure. Finally, on March 15, 2018, the FBI, along with the Canadian Police and the Australian Federal Police, made their move. They had been waiting for this takedown for over 10 years. Vincent Ramos was arrested. Within 24 hours of the arrest, Phantom Secure's empire crumbled. All key players were in custody, the servers seized, and once again, criminals' communications were in the open. However, the FBI and Australian Federal Police knew they couldn't just arrest criminals. It wouldn't take long for someone else to come in and start selling similar devices. Then a new idea popped up. Why should they wait for someone else to sell secure phones when the FBI could do it themselves? Your name, home address, phone number, email, even your family members' details are scattered across the internet, easily accessible with just a click. There's a whole industry of data brokers who collect this information from various sources and sell it online. In fact, it's happening at this very moment. The data broking industry is worth $389 billion and continues to grow every day, putting you at risk of identity theft, financial fraud, and even stalking. But that's where today's sponsor, Delete Me, comes in. Delete Me scours hundreds of data broker sites to remove your information. They continually monitor these sites to make sure your information doesn't just get removed once, but stays off. When I first started using their service, they sent me a detailed report within 7 days, showing exactly which data brokers had my personal information and what they had on me. And they began removing it on my behalf. To date, they've reviewed 265 listings containing my information and have consistently taken it down from multiple websites. This isn't just a one-time thing. Delete Me has your back 365 days a year. If you're ready to protect yourself and your family from the ever-growing world of data broking, head over to joindeleteme.com/Cipher and use the promo code Cipher for 20% off all their consumer plans. The arrest of Vincent Ramos and Phantom Secure's takedown shook the criminals. They had relied on Phantom Secure's encrypted devices for so long, and suddenly they were left without a trusted way to communicate. Everyone waited impatiently for a new tool to hit the market. They tried out other encrypted devices like Sky ECC and Encrypted, which promised the same level of security, but the FBI closed in on these companies too. Finally, the FBI and AFP entered the scene with a new phone, Anom. Anom was designed to be the perfect tool for organized crime. It was nothing like the other encrypted phones. At the heart of Anom was its custom operating system, Arcane OS, which was specifically built for privacy. Unlike regular Android phones, which have Google's code embedded for tracking and data collection, Arcane OS stripped out all tracking components. This made Anom phones nearly impossible to monitor or trace. Anom phones were cleverly disguised to look like any other smartphone. They came preloaded with fake apps like Candy Crush, Netflix, and Tinder, giving the appearance of a standard everyday phone. None of these apps worked, but that didn't matter. To access secure messages, users didn't open a standard app. Instead, they had to open the calculator, enter a PIN, and hold down the equal sign. Only then would the messaging app reveal itself. In addition to the security, these phones also allowed users to send photos and videos, unlike older encrypted devices that had removed cameras, making them a go-to tool for criminals dealing in drugs, weapons, and other illegal goods. A built-in filter automatically blurred faces and photos, so nobody's identities could be tracked. Users could also send voice messages that were scrambled to sound higher or lower pitched, making it nearly impossible for anyone to recognize who was speaking. Anom's messaging system also came with a self-destruct feature, allowing users to set messages to automatically delete after a certain amount of time, anywhere between 30 seconds to 7 days. This made sure that sensitive communications wouldn't linger long enough for the police to intercept them, even if the phone was seized. Users could also request a remote wipe from Anom, erasing everything from the phone instantly if needed. Anom's privacy didn't stop with the phone itself. Its servers were reportedly located outside the reach of the Five Eyes Alliance, the US, UK, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada, as well as the European Union. This made it much harder for law enforcement agencies to request or access data from Anom. However, all of these features were used as marketing tactics by the FBI to attract more criminals. They built a hidden backdoor directly into every Anom device, allowing them to access every communication in real time. Every text, voice memo, photo, and video sent through the device was secretly routed through FBI-controlled servers. But no one knew this. For criminals, Anom was the perfect device, and they flooded to Anom by the thousands. The AFP launched it in Australia first to test it. Word spread rapidly through criminal networks as trusted contacts began distributing the device to key players in the underworld. Its user experience, combined with its promise to be untraceable, made it an instant hit. Sales surged in the local market, and given the massive success rate, it was just a matter of time before Anom was ready to be introduced to the global market. Within 3 years of Anom's official release, over 12,000 devices were sold worldwide. reaching over 300 criminal syndicates in more than 100 countries. Sky ECC and Phantom Secure were already in the ground. Anom was the only company offering exactly what criminals need. Therefore, it became a monopoly in the world of criminal communications across the globe. Illegal businesses were thriving, profits were booming, and trafficking operations were easier than ever. Little did they know, the FBI had been behind their favorite new device from the very beginning. Anom gave the FBI access to more than 27 million messages from thousands of devices worldwide. Every message sent, every call made, it was all being watched. Criminals across the world believed they had found the perfect tool for staying off law enforcement's radar, but in reality, they were putting themselves on it. Unfortunately for the criminals, Anom continued to be the first choice for a mobile phone because they had no idea about the truth. Criminal syndicates worldwide relied on the device for their most sensitive communications, and the small Australian company quickly expanded into a global operation, with organized crime groups in over 100 countries using their mobile device. Behind the scenes, Operation Ironside, a joint effort between the Australian Federal Police and the FBI, was already underway. Named after one of its main targets, the notorious Ironside motorcycle gang, the operation aimed to dismantle organized crime networks by exploiting the very tools they had come to trust. With Anom devices being handed out to key criminal leaders, Operation Ironside quietly infiltrated Australia's underworld. But while Ironside was focused on Australian crime syndicates, the FBI had much larger plans. Operation Trojan Shield, the global counterpart to Ironside. While Ironside focused on apprehending criminals inside the country, Trojan Shield aimed to capture criminals from all over the globe. The FBI partnered with law enforcement agencies of more than a dozen countries, and Operation Trojan Shield commenced. As Anom's popularity grew, the number of FBI agents assigned to the operation grew rapidly. At its peak, around 130 agents were working tirelessly to monitor the constant stream of information. With criminals using Anom to plan everything from massive drug shipments to targeted assassinations, the FBI had a front-row seat to the inner workings of organized crime. However, this level of access came with a significant challenge. While the FBI had real-time insight into criminal activities, it couldn't intervene in every case without exposing the operation. The FBI had to pick and choose when to act. Stopping too many operations would raise suspicions, and that meant leaving some people to die. When lives were on the line, the FBI was forced to act, even when the consequences were dire. Law enforcement estimated that they intervened around 150 times to stop immediate threats to life, though sometimes they fell short. This meant that some murders were planned and orchestrated on a platform created by the government itself. As Operation Trojan Shield continued, the FBI knew it couldn't keep Anom running indefinitely. What started as a tool for gathering intelligence would soon need to transition into an evidence-gathering operation, one that could be used to bring down the criminals and syndicates who had relied on the platform. The operation's primary objective was not only to take down criminal organizations, but to shatter the trust criminals had in encrypted communication devices altogether. The FBI wanted to send a clear message. If they could secretly run an encrypted phone network, who's to say the other devices criminals trusted weren't compromised too? As successful as Anom had been, the operation was always on borrowed time. Like with anything secret, the risk of exposure was always there. The longer the FBI monitored things using Anom, the chances that they would be caught increased. Whispers and rumors had already started to circulate because the FBI had intercepted underground operations that were hardly communicated to anybody. Eventually, a growing sense of paranoia took over the criminals that used Anom phones, as they began to suspect that something was not quite right. At this point, the FBI had two options: Either act quickly before these suspicions blew their covers and Anom was revealed to be a Trojan horse, or let the criminals continue their illegal businesses. On top of this, a Lithuanian court order which allowed the FBI to legally monitor communications on Anom was set to end on June 7, 2021. This court order was essential because it provided the legal basis for the FBI to conduct the operation outside its jurisdiction and intercept the data. The FBI analyzed the Anom servers in Lithuania. However, the date of expiry on this court order was approaching fast. Under the circumstances, the only option left was for the FBI to coordinate with law enforcement agencies from around the globe and carry out one of the biggest sting operations in history. With just 24 hours on the clock, the FBI started a highly coordinated and precise operation on June 7, 2021. Deviating from the plan slightly or even making the smallest of mistakes could result in instant failure. More than 10,000 police officers across multiple countries were ready to carry out a series of synchronized raids, making it the largest coordinated law enforcement action in history. They had one simple order: strike fast, strike hard, and take down as many criminal networks as possible in one giant, global sweeping move. As the clock struck midnight, Europe, North America, Australia, and several other regions jumped into action. Strike teams moved together. Raids were carried out one after the other. The only important thing was to keep the element of surprise alive. Therefore, strike teams in every region moved together at the same time. This allowed them to take down some of the biggest criminal organizations and arrest as many people as possible. In Australia, the AFP targeted one of the most ruthless gangs in the entire country, the Comanchero Motorcycle Club. This biker gang was deeply involved in drug trafficking and murders across Australia. To demolish their whole operation, the AFP executed raids all over the country in cities like Sydney, Melbourne, and Perth, where the gang had strongholds. The AFP arrested multiple leaders of the Comanchero gang and seized huge quantities of drugs, weapons, and drug money. In Europe, Europol managed to coordinate multiple agencies from multiple different European countries. One of the most significant raids took place in the Netherlands, where strike teams there targeted the notorious Macro Mafia, an organization involved in large-scale cocaine trafficking from South America all the way to Europe. Simultaneously, in Spain, authorities cracked down on the Albanian mafia, which had been using Anom to plan drug shipments and money laundering. In Italy, the 'Ndrangheta, which is one of the most powerful mafia organizations in the world, was hit hard. Europol's coordination made it almost impossible for people to flee to other countries like they had before to avoid arrest. Plus, with the element of surprise on their side, no one got away. In the United States, the FBI focused its efforts on dismantling the most violent gangs with deep roots in cities like New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago. The Mexican Mafia and MS-13 were both major targets because both of them had been using Anom to plan murders, drug distribution, and human trafficking across state and country lines. In Los Angeles, the FBI coordinated with LAPD to arrest Mexican mafia leaders, seizing large quantities of drugs and firearms. In New York, the FBI arrested top MS-13 players, which in turn significantly weakened the gang's influence there, allowing for police to get control of things. The scale of Trojan horse operation was nothing short of amazing. 800 arrests were made globally, along with 38 tons of illegal drugs, 250-plus firearms, and more than $48 million in worldwide currency being apprehended, making Operation Trojan Shield and Operation Ironside one of the biggest, most successful criminal busts in history.